All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. This is your 1-8 lecture. Hungry? Stop by the deli. Make yourself a breakfast wrap. That's it. Just a breakfast wrap. That's all, Sammy. Okay? All right, this is 1-8. It's very similar to 1-7, but it's got a lot of new vocabulary. So, we are reviewing conditional statements. What does a conditional statement look like? If, then. Okay, it always looks like if, then. Sometimes it'll look like P implies Q, but we don't really use that form at all in this class. So, the first thing it says to do is turn the following sentence into a conditional statement. Two right angles are congruent. We've got to write that in if-then form. There's a correct way to do it and an incorrect way to do it. If two angles are congruent, then they are right angles. Is that the proper way? It is not. So remember, order matters. If two angles are right angles, then they are congruent. Okay? So you have to make sure that you are thinking these through with logic. The order matters. Okay, so for the next few slides, we'll continue to refer to the following if-then statement. If you live in Cincinnati, then you live in Ohio. Is that a true conditional statement? Yes, it is. So this is true. Okay. A lot of times our books will just refer to this as if P then Q as a shorthand. Okay? In this case, P would be the statement, you live in Cincinnati. That's true for us, unless we want to be really, really specific about it and say that Montgomery is not Cincinnati. But in general, we live in Cincinnati. That's true. You live in Ohio. That's also true. Okay, so these are statements, and statements can have validity. Validity just means they can be true or they can be false. Okay? I don't think there's a whole lot here you need to copy down. All right, now here's all your new vocabulary. A negation is to throw a not in front of something. Okay? So, that would be to say, if I do not live in Cincinnati, that would be the negation of P. Okay? The symbol for not is this tilde. Tilde looks like this little flag thing right there. Okay? It might be called tilde. I'm not sure. Okay? So, this is not new, but it's really important, and it's really part of this section. We learned it yesterday, but let's go over it. The converse. What kind of things are converses? Shoes. Can you run backwards? Yes. Converse is the backwards. So you reverse the if and the then. If I live in Ohio, then I live in Cincinnati. That's the converse of our original statement. Notice, this converse is not true. It's false. Do you get that? Could you live in Ohio and not live in Cincinnati? That's what makes that a false statement. Does that make sense? The inverse is the negation of P and Q. If I do not live in Cincinnati, so we're back to the original order. If I do not live in Cincinnati, then I do not live in Ohio. That is also false, for the same logic that the converse was false. I could live in Columbus. Okay? And then the contrapositive is kind of like the inverse meets the converse. You reverse the order and you negate the terms. So, if I do not live in Ohio, then I do not live in Cincinnati. Is that true? Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. So, this is how we create Venn diagrams. Sometimes they overlap, and sometimes they are nested. Okay? Some students participate in sports, others in arts, and some do both. Now there's a little bit of information here that's implied, because this says some, others, and some. There's some implied information here that you got to read and interpret right. Okay? Does that seem right to you so far? What does this overlapping area represent? Those are the students that participate in sports and arts. Is this the end of this Venn diagram? Is it completed? Very good, Jack. What am I missing? Yeah. And I'm just going to make that a box since I'm running out of room. And what does that square or outer space represent, Jack? That's right. It never said that all students participate in either sports or arts or both. There are a group of students that do not participate in either, and they are on the outside. That's how we use Venn diagrams to sometimes represent some pretty complicated situations. If you live in Cincinnati, then you live in Ohio. Right? What's on the outside? Ohioans. Yeah, sure it is now. It's math class. We can invent whenever we want. And on the inside? Cincinnatians. Cincinnatians. Okay? So far so good? Alright. 2 more things and we're done. Theorem 3. This is always kind of cool. This is if a conditional statement is true, then its contrapositive is true. So I challenge anyone in here to give me a conditional statement that is true. Anything. It could be about anything. In fact, it's not allowed to be about math. Yeah, give me a conditional statement that is true. If you are alive, then you are breathing. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's more dependent on having a pulse. And that's probably true too. You can probably be alive without having a pulse. So we're going to go on to the next one. Not bad. These are harder to come up with than you think. Oh, if you're cold. No, you could be cold and still be alive. Why are we going with all these death ones? If you turn... Nope, that's wrong. See, hey, so far we've learned that we would make terrible lawyers. Okay, you have to be very specific with what you say. Grace?
If Mr. Mater is your principal this year, then you go to Sycamore. What if there's another?
That's probably true. That's probably true. I don't think there is another Cincinnati though. Okay, I like it. If Mr. Mater, how about Mr. Doug Mater? If Mr. Doug Mater is your principal, then you attend SHS, Sycamore High School. Okay, what would be the contrapositive of that? Ben? Sam? Sorry. Is that the contrapositive? Okay?
If you
Owen?
do not attend Sycamore High School, then Mr. Dugman is not your principal.
That is correct. The contrapositive would be, if you do not attend Sycamore High School, then Mr. Dugmater is not your principal. Notice, since the first statement was true, the second statement will also be true. The other thing you might have noticed is that I think Sam's statement was true, even though it was just the converse. Well, what that would mean is that it's reversible, and that could be considered a definition. That's the definition of Sycamore High School principal, because it's reversible. Okay? These are some of the things you're learning in here. All right, and then finally, the chain rule. If I get caught cheating on my exam, then I fail geometry. Okay? That's if P, then Q. Okay? Statement 2. If I fail geometry, then I lose my phone privileges. Okay? That would be what? How would we write that as an if-then statement? Oh, I did, but using what letters? There's a specific letter I need to use. What was Q here? You failed geometry. So this one needs to be if Q. Remember, Q is a statement that has validity. The statement was, I failed geometry. So now we would write if Q, then, and now we can call it whatever we want, R. Here's what the chain rule says. If P and then Q, and if Q then R. If both of these are true, then you can skip and go straight from P to R. So what could we say now? If I get caught cheating on my exam, then I lose my phone privileges. It's basically skipping the middleman. That's what the chain rule tells you. Like a chain of event. Not the two chains rule, just the chain rule. Got it? All right? Boom!